Hello, this will be my P3 presentation format, and I will be talking about data ethics within the government and social media, more specifically the US government and TikTok. So starting off with data. I'll be talking about data and what it is to give you a better understanding and grasp of what I'll be talking about later in the presentation. What is data? According to the book, Data Ethics and Challenges, data is an essential element of contemporary society. What does this mean? You can see data as atoms in chemistry. Atoms in chemistry are the basic building blocks of molecules and compounds, and without those atoms, molecules and compounds would not exist. You can see data as the basic building blocks of contemporary society. Well, without data, well, without data, contemporary society would still exist. But data can be seen as something that can help improve and develop contemporary society in a better nature. Moving on to what data is specifically. Data is pretty much information, raw information and facts processed and grouped up to create data. A process known as datafication. Data can be seen as everything and anything. Data is how you eat, what you eat, how you shop, what you shop for, how you drive, and what you drive. It is everything. It is simply information, facts about things, whether big things or small things, miscellaneous things or important things. It is simply just things grouped together to create stuff, or to create data. My bad. Sorry. Um, all of this is according to the book Data Ethics and Challenges. Moving on to datafication. I briefly mentioned about datafication just now, but I would like to go more in depth of what it is. According to Econ Store, an article on datafication and specifically explaining what datafication is, as previously mentioned, datafication is a process of turning raw information and facts into data. Well, that is the basic definition. In reality, it is a bit more complicated. As said in the article, datafication is not just making information make sense to one human beings to another. This has been done with writing and language for forever. But rather, datafication is more of a grouping of life into data, um, human life into digital information, mostly for economic value. What does this mean? More so, again, turning raw facts and information into data. Well, yes, that's what it is. How the article explains it to be, data is more so of taking human life and what they do and everything a part of human life and turning it into digital information. Well, both definitions pretty much go hand in hand. One has a more deeper meaning. Continuing off of Econ Store, after saying what datafication was, they also mentioned that datafication also has a major social consequence, being that data is very volatile and just as everything, data can either prove something true or prove something false. Well, sometimes not enough data is ever brought up to an argument. It can be seen that with enough data, anything can be proven, but at the moment, not enough data is there, meaning that there is a lot of scrutiny of what is true, what is right, what is fact, and what is false, being that data is so broad and uh, what- being so broad and large in a sense. But now you have a better understanding of what data is, being that it is simply information grouped up so that other people can understand it, known as data. Next, we have data ethics. So, according to the U.S. Commerce the Department of U. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, data ethics is defined as the norms of behavior that promotes appropriate judgment and accountability when acquiring, managing, or using data. with the goal of protecting privacy, confidentiality, minimizing risk associated risks to individuals and society, and maximizing public good. Well, this is a quote directly from the US Department of Commerce, the framework of 2022, data ethics. What does this really mean? To take a deeper dive into data ethics is in the US Department of Commerce framework of 2022, data ethics. The data ethics principles are mainly split into 8 main categories, grouped up in pairs. First being privacy and confidentiality, next being fairness and inclusiveness, then transparency and accountability, and finally safety and security. So let me specifically define each one. So starting off with privacy and confidentiality, privacy is simply the right for a person to have privacy, to be able to not have people go into their data or information without them wanting to, which then confidentiality protects that privacy or that right of what it is. Confidentiality is pretty much saying that hey, people can't go into people's data without their permission or allowing it. And when I say people in this case, it'll be mainly businesses and governments and anybody who wants to use a specific individual's data. Moving on next to fairness and inclusiveness. This pretty much means that there should be fair and equal treatment regardless of race, gender, age, socioeconomic, etc., towards any persons involved in giving up their data to whether a uh, government, business, or things like that, etc. Inclusiveness pretty much means that it should include everybody, and data should not be specifically targeted to one person unless specifically agreed to in a study or specifically they want data from one specific person. Oh, well, one specific group. It should not be from one specific person. Sorry. Continuing on to transparency and accountability. This pretty much means that uh, a business or an entity should be transparent of what they're taking from their users, specifically data, what they're taking from each user, as well as accountability of if they were to take data from people and there was a data breach, they should be holded accountable for that and they are blamed for it and they should make up for it, whether in court with cash settlements or things like that. Finally, is safety and security. Safety and security is basically the data should be there and protected through security of the safety of the users that are getting their data taken from them, being that data is still personal information of people. To continue off, social media, mainly TikTok. So according to TikTok, its goal is to be a leading destination for short form mobile video, and their mission is to inspire creativity and joy. So according to Investopedia, it is a popular social media platform with the basis of short form content. And according to Britain Sia, it is TikTok was created by a Chinese company known as ByteDance that merged with a popular karaoke app in 2017 known as Musical.ly, keeping the name of TikTok and getting rid of the name Musical.ly. Moving on to TikTok policies and agreements. The policies of TikTok are long and extensive. This is a popular business approach for companies to take more than to take data, pretty much. To take it's also known as like fine print. TikTok has a very long and, as I said, extensive policies list and terms of agreement, making that people usually only agree to them without really reading what the policies are giving up. But some of the data that TikTok is getting from their users is person's location, device information. They're also giving up some of their personal information like their age, name, again, location where they live. Let's see, passwords, usernames, emails, language, other account informations, and images. Other things they also give up is the content they generate on TikTok. Anything from images to videos, anything like that is given up to the company, as well as any text messages within TikTok is also given up to the company. Mm, let's see. Some other things is also purchase informations like PayPal and things like that. Also, device information like what your phone device is, like what model it is, IP address, phone carriers, service providers, and things like that, contacts and whatnot. But some of these are blocked by whether it is given permission to do so by the user itself. But to continue off of that, what does TikTok do with the data that it gains from users? Mainly, it is used to share with partners and service providers. Business partners to give specified ads to specific individuals, and service providers as information of what people use for entertainment or just more data on what apps people use, so that the service provider can understand that, I guess, as well as to improve the platform to see what people do like, what people don't like, and just to use that data to improve. And they also mine data, which is pretty much they take any data that is also extra, that is miscellaneous, and they pretty much take that and try to see if they can put that into a group to make it more understandable to people, to either improve the platform or to just have to just to continue the relationship between the government and TikTok. It is under heavy debate of the legitimacy of TikTok, being that it is a Chinese company. Many political officials, currently mainly in Congress, believe that TikTok a form is a way for the Chinese government to spy on the U.S. This can be seen by Aldra's news article, as well as CBS News. They both talk about how Congress is trying to ban TikTok, and a 2-to-1 ratio of Americans believe that TikTok should be banned because of the connection between the Chinese government and TikTok. Their main fears is that the Chinese government is threatening national security through breaching of civilians in the US, as well as getting information on what people like and how the Chinese are able to use that to threaten the US. For some closing thoughts, in this presentation, I talked about datafication, using the book Data Ethics and Challenges, as well as Econ Store. I also talked about data ethics within the US Department of US Commerce, specifically privacy, confidentiality, fairness, inclusiveness, transparency, accountability, security, and safety. I also talked about TikTok. I talked about how it came from Musically. I also talked about the policies and agreements of agreeing to TikTok and what you agree to when you use it, as well as the government opinion on TikTok, as well as the relationship between TikTok and the government. In conclusion, there are many sides to this argument of whether TikTok is good for the government and whether the government is helping empower TikTok or not de-empowering TikTok. Either way, as you can see with how the government is looking at TikTok, many people see that TikTok is should be banned for its connections with the Chinese government. But at the same time, TikTok is still widely used throughout youth, teens, and even adults. Nonetheless, TikTok is still a very big part of our society, and getting rid of it, I feel, would be still very hard to get rid of. As well as if we really think about what TikTok is producing content wise, mainly it is just short form content and with some false fake news. But other than that, TikTok is just for just like any other social media platform, only connotation that it is connected with the Chinese government. Well, that's the end. These are my references, my scholarly sources, my non scholarly sources, and my image sources. Have a good day. And thank you for watching.